Hello there, this is Alexander from Sinesquares.net, and today I'm really happy to introduce you to the brand new Two of Cups M by Endorhines. Two of Cups is a dual sample player by Endorhines. This is the second version of it with a few minor changes. The main one is that it has MIDI in, while the previous one just had a clock in instead of MIDI. Another quality of life update is that now the SD is on the front of the module, so you can just take it out without removing the full module of your case. They also changed the labeling and how you see in which mode you are. You now have two LED lights that are bright or dimmed, so you can see where you are, either if you're changing the volume, the pitch, or you're looping your sample. And in general, Two of Cups is a really fun way to introduce samples to your system. I have a huge modular system, but no sample players, and I love using samples in my productions, so having the Two of Cups M is really great. By the way, I have serial number 007, which is so cool. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, here it is. As always, a really well built module by Endorhines. Really slick, everything is labeled. Really love their designs in general, and the coolest cable for your power. So now I think it's time to plug it in and see what you can do with it. So I prepared a small system just to demonstrate the new Two of Cups, the Two of Cups M. We're gonna go through the module and what you can do with it, and then we're gonna have some patches, some examples with it. Starting from top to bottom, you have your two outputs on the top, voice 1 and voice 2. By the way, Endorhines does that. They have the outputs on the top of the module, which is not my favorite thing. I mean, in the Milky Way especially, which is an effects module, they have the outputs on top, and I've patched the outputs as inputs like a million times, and I hope I haven't destroyed this. Below that, we have the mode button that changes what these two knobs are doing each time. We're going to talk about this later. Below that, you have two inputs for changing the sample 1 and sample 2 with CV. And then we have volt per octave for voice 2 and volt per octave for voice 1. Your SD card is right here. It's not in the back of the module like in the previous version, which is really handy. And on the bottom, you have your trigger for sample 1 and sample 2. And in the middle, you have MIDI in, which is also something brand new for this module. Version 1 didn't have MIDI, only had a clock in here, so this is a very welcomed addition. And lastly, you have those two buttons right here that lets you trigger the samples. Actually, let's listen to that. Also, by using the mode button, you can change the different banks of sounds. The module comes with a lot of sounds. I think it has 6 banks full of sounds ready to go, and they also have 2 empty banks for you to add your own samples, which I did, and we're going to listen to that later. So if you want to change the bank, you have to hold mode, and now you're in another bank. On the SD card, each bank has 2 folders for voice 1 and voice 2, where you can have different samples. I did that in one of my banks. The samples that come with the module are the same for voice 1 and voice 2, but you can have different samples in those 2 voices. And now let's go through what you can do with the mode button. Those 2 small LED lights tell you where you are. So if you have both of them fully lit, you're in the sample selection mode. By the way, small detail is that sometimes you think that the knobs are not doing anything, but they have to catch up the previous position and then they start editing. So for example, if I had this sample and the knob was right here, when I was changing samples, I had to pass that and then I would change the samples. Small detail, but it's not broken if you think it is. It's working like that. When you only have the first light fully lit, you're in the decay mode. Right here it's full decay, and you can shorten the sample. You don't have a way to change the start of the sample, but you can change its length. When the first light is dimmed, then you're in the volume mode. When you have the second LED fully bright, you're in the pitch mode. You can change the pitch of your sample. And lastly, when the second LED is dimmed, you're in the loop mode. It's an on-off switch, essentially. When on the right, you have loop mode, and on the left, no loop mode. Also, another change compared to the original version is now you don't have a reverse option. On the previous model, you had the option to reverse a sound, and now you cannot do it, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, it's a cool thing to have, but it's not here. So now let's have some patch examples. I'm going to use the inputs that they are available. I'm going to go to the bank I created. So here, for example, I loaded different sounds for voice 1 and for voice 2. And now let's just play some sounds. I'm going to use the Oxy 1 as a controller, and we're going to patch CV for voice 1 here, and the gate is going to be in the trigger 1. Now we're just playing an arpeggio. It's voice 1. And I can do the same thing for voice number 2. Here I have my gate and my CV. By the way, I have some effects using the Ghost, which is right here by Endorhines again. Having this sounded like a good idea in my head, but I don't think it is. Let's just try and make this stupid sound kind of usable. I'm gonna use the things we have on board. First of all, we can play with decay. Okay, I'm not gonna change the volume. Let's not use that. Pitch. Let's just play an arpeggio. This is going way too fast. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Let's just take that sound and run it through a low-pass gate just to see what happens. I have the low-pass gate by Nokia Circuits. Susumi, really cool low-pass gate. Let's multiply our trigger. Here's one here and one for our low-pass gate. Let's ping it. And play with the effects. And maybe we can also modulate the sample selection just for the fun of it. Now I'm using the LFO by Obsidian, again by Nokia. I'm just using Alt by Nano modules to decrease the depth of the modulation, to attenuate that. And we're patching this in the sample CV. So yeah, starting by stupid sound and add some effects. So as you might have seen, the Two of Cups is a really straightforward module. You have a lot of controls over your samples. You can trigger them, pitch them, have modulation for the sample selections. So you gotta be mindful on which sample is gonna use on each voice, so you can utilize the sample selection without triggering things that you might not want. So narrowing down the samples to the things you want to use is really useful, and a tip from high end. The samples that this thing comes with are made by Julia Bundar by Endorhines, really high quality samples, but you can always take them out and use only your own samples. And lastly, let's check out the MIDI in, which is the new thing about the Two of Cups M. M stands for MIDI. I'm just going to use the OPXY for this. I'm taking the MIDI out in the MIDI in. You'll just have to use a TRS cable, not a regular patch cable like that. And now you can play your sounds using a keyboard. And it also responds to velocity. Channel number 1 is voice number 1, channel number 2 is voice number 2. So if you like to use MIDI with your Eurorack setup, this is a great addition. So what do I think about the Two of Cups? I think it's a really solid option if you're looking to add samples to your Eurorack system. The fact that you have two voices in just 6 HP, it's amazing. You don't have a ton of options in terms of sample manipulation, but you have the basic ones, the ones that you probably mostly need, like decay, pitch, and your volume. I would like to have the reverse option that you had on the previous version, and also a way to trim the start of your samples so that you can use longer samples and trim them. But other than that, I think that's a really good release by my friends at Endorhines. If you're looking for an affordable, really small sample player for your system, you cannot go wrong with it. The addition of a MIDI input is something I know a lot of people are gonna love. I don't use MIDI that much, so I don't think I'm gonna take advantage of this. But lately, MIDI in Eurorack is becoming more of a thing, so adding this is future-proofing the module for years to come. In general, I'm a huge Endorhines fan. I have a lot of things by them, and I love their design philosophy, and this is also an example of this. A tiny module with a lot of things that you can do with it, and they always manage to pack a lot of things in an affordable and small form factor without removing the fun out of it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Endorhines for sending me this module. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, leave a like or subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one. Love you.